Saying live in 60 seconds.
So we are live.
Okay. Okay. Vinod, you are here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think we will be, expecting everybody in the webinar in a few minutes from now. But meanwhile, I just want to say how nice it is, Vinod, to have you. You are a dear friend. You are a colleague. You are somebody I admire personally. I have seen you grow over the years into becoming quite a remarkable leader. And of course, I will say more about you when everybody else is ready for the webinar. But what a nice experience it is to have this conversation with a fellow colleague and a friend. So,
no, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, thank you, Vinod. Thank you very much. And are you at home right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm at home for last almost 2 months now. We are at home.
So that's Greater Kailash Part 2, right?
Yes.
You still live in that beautiful house in Greater Kailash.
Greater Kailash Part 2.
Okay, wonderful. And how are things around you in that whole community in GK2 in Delhi?
GK2 is, I think, fairly safe. I don't think we have any case here around in GK2.
I see.
So GK2 is a slightly more, it's not very congested, and so it's,
Okay.
that way it's safe.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm now going to broadcast, and we are connecting to the cloud server. I will also make sure that we start recording it, which it is. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to this series that we have every Thursday on talking and having a conversation with a virtuous leader. And today we have Vinod Aggarwal, the Managing Director and CEO of VECV, Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles. And what a pleasant surprise, Vinod, to have you today on this particular conversation. You are somebody I have watched very closely over the years. We were colleagues in Eicher, we worked together. And then to see you rising to the current heights where you have very successfully taken the company to outstanding performances, to track record, which are being admired to everybody. And so what I really love about you, Vinod, is the simplicity with which you have conducted yourself all these years and the clarity of thought you have brought to your job. So with these opening comments, Vinod, thank you very much for coming here, and welcome to this conversation.
No, thank you very much, Anil, for having me in your program. And it's my honor and my pleasure to be part of this. And of course, we have been we have worked very closely, and of course, that also has been a big privilege for me to work with you and to having known you for so many years.
Thanks a lot, Vinod. So let me begin by asking you a question, Vinod, that out of all the things that you remember that you and the team has done together, what are the moments that stand out for you as the ones which have given you the maximum happiness when you and the team were at your very best?
I think, Anil, it's a long journey, and there are so many memories. And of course, I would like to recall some of them. And first of all, I come from a very humble background, and I have never forgot my roots. So I very well remember that I used to live in a village till my graduation. So I am very well versed with the village life. And then, of course, a lot of values which I have got from my parents, and that is has taken me through all these years. And then subsequently, of course, I have been very fortunate to work with some of the best leaders who were, of course, very good, and then at the same time, who were also very hard taskmasters. And so as a result of that, some of the things which I have ingrained in myself, that has helped me to, always focus on things or doing the things in that right manner, and always remaining focused, and caring for the results and following the processes, following all the values. And then of course, you asked me that what have been the happy moments. uh, I think if you ask me the latest one, of course, uh, around 1.5 years back, we celebrated 10 years of our joint venture. And then for that, we had the entire Volvo Group board of directors in India. So that was a big honor and recognition uh, for the good work that we have done as a team in last 10 years. So that was one of my very happy moments in life. And then of course, uh, this joint venture has been successful because uh, from day one, I think we have focused on some basic fundamental values. And uh, and then of course, like for example, uh, we worked on creating a trust from day one, and then lot of respect for both the partners, and creating win-win without any vested interests. I think these were the foundations which we created in this joint venture, which have helped us. And the trust was created so much, so early in the joint venture, uh, that Volvo Group, they entrusted us in the maybe second year itself, that we should manufacture Euro 6 engines for them, which was a very big honor for the country, because it's the finest example of Make in India. And then Euro 6, when we were at Euro 3 in the country at BS3 equivalent to Euro 3, and then we were manufacturing Euro 6 for Volvo Group. So all the trucks, medium duty trucks that are sold in Europe or in other countries, they are fitted with engines which are made in Pithampur.
Oh, wonderful.
So that's the, I think these are all the happy moments. And then of course, before that, there have been a lot of happy moments. I think uh, we have now gone through, this is in my career, this must be, I think, sixth or seventh downturn. So each downturn, I think, has made us much more stronger. In fact, the real character of the organization comes out during the downturn. And the way we have managed all these downturns, I think those were all the happy moments, even though very tough moments. But the way we managed and came out of it, I think all of them were very happy moments.
And Vinod, I'd like to go deeper into that in a short while from now. But right now, I want to celebrate the spirit of this joint venture. Volvo is an outstanding company. I remember when I was doing my master's in management, my MBA, those days we used to study Volvo and their experiments at, they were the world's first company to introduce self-managed teams, for example, on work design. So we used to read about the Volvo experiments when we were students, and what an outstanding culture they had. And then, of course, Eicher, I have this bias because of obvious reasons, because I still feel as if I'm one of the co-owners of Eicher. I never had any shares, but emotionally, I feel as if I still own and belong to the company. That's kind of ownership.
No, absolutely. I think that's the great pride for all of us also, that we're feeling like that.
Yes. So, with this kind of culture of two companies, a company like Eicher, which built tremendous amount of a sense of belongingness and ownership, and a company like Volvo, which also had a very positive culture. But yet I know, Vinod, even if two virtuous companies become joint venture partners, the history of joint ventures globally is that joint ventures do not last for long periods of time. And I've studied many joint ventures which have not lasted that long. And what has been the secret on how the two companies here have managed to build a really win-win-win, where two of you win and the community and customers also win?
I think, Anil, this is a very good question. The fundamentals for any joint venture success is that when the values are similar and when there is no vested interest. I think this is very important. When one partner tries to take advantage of the situation at the cost of the other partner, that's the starting of the trouble. And Eicher values. And of course, I would say our values are the strongest, and that is our biggest strength. And without any vested interest, we only focus on work with full openness, full transparency. Once the Volvo Group saw that we are absolutely transparent, uh, complete openness, there is no resistance to change, full respect for their more experience, for their more mature experience, world-class experience, for their systems, for their processes. We basically went to them with a very open mind that we want to learn, we want to adopt, their good systems and processes. If they said that, okay, we feel that this MIS system should be like this, we said, fair enough, it's excellent. We adopted that. If they said that, no, I think your financial year right now is April to March, why don't you align this financial year with us? We said, fair enough, we will do it. If they said that, you are doing the product development like this, why don't you adopt this process? We said, yes, of course, we will do that. Because we knew that there is so much to learn from them and there is so much to absorb. And since we were absolutely a learning organization, and and then of course there was no resistance. Normally what happens, uh, people, they start resisting. They say, why are you telling us? We know our job, we have been doing this for last so many years. But in our company, I think we never allowed anyone to say like that. We always went there with an open mind. We adopted a lot of their global processes, and that is the reason we have been growing, and we have now renewed our entire products. We have complete line of new products, and in line with our vision of driving modernization in commercial transportation, we have adopted a lot of Volvo Group technology into our products. So all that was possible when we were there with open mind, and at the same time, Volvo Group also felt respected that here is a company which values their inputs, which values their contributions, and of course, in the process, we are increasing the size of the pie. And just to give you some figures, in the first 10 years of our joint venture, our compounded average growth rate was 18% for first 10 years.
Fantastic.
So that is what we have been growing year after year. And today we have such a strong product line, and with all the processes which we have implemented in our after sales, I think the sky is the limit for us, because we are still very small in some of our market shares, in the large segments which are high potential markets. I think since we have everything, I think the potential to grow for us, it is very high. It is all because we have worked very, very closely with Volvo Group.
Now, I have a lot of experience of working with large joint ventures. And I know that the role of the managing director becomes extremely crucial, because you have to balance the needs of both the shareholders. You may have come from Eicher, and therefore your values and obviously your affiliation is for Eicher, but at the same time, you as the CEO and the managing director have to make sure that the interests of both the shareholders are equally met. So how do you do this balancing act in a board which has representatives of both the shareholders?
First of all, I am as a professional. I am not representing Eicher Group. So that is what, because I was selected jointly by both the partners. And then I think the biggest role which the CEO or the managing director has to perform is that before you take anything to the board, you have to create consensus outside the board. I don't remember even a single instance where any agenda item has gone to the board where the consensus was not there already. So when anything goes to the board, it comes through like that. So that is my job, to ensure that everything is discussed upfront with both the partners, explaining them the details. And then when it goes to the board, then of course, then it goes very smooth. And that is of course, I have to ensure that. And then they also see us that we are very, very professional, and we are extremely, caring for the interest of joint venture, because we always told them that maybe initially we were in the Eicher side, or there were some persons who came from Volvo side, but now having come in the joint venture, we have no colors. So we are not saying that we are from Eicher or we are from Volvo. We are from VECV. That's why we also made our own shared values. In our initial, I think, first 2 years itself, we came out with our shared values, we came out with our vision, we came out with our mission, and so everything we set it from day one, and then of course these things are moving very smoothly. Now we have completed 12 years, and the relationship is going from strength to strength.
Vinod, I also want to, since you brought up this subject of shared vision and values, I have very fond memories of the work that we did with you in facilitating the shared vision and values.
Absolutely, we did a lot of work with you on teamwork and a lot of things, design thinking, and
yes. And what I learned a lot out of that work that we did with you, there was a genuine desire in both the shareholders and the leadership team to believe in co-creation. Because, in some companies, the top management decides the vision and values, and then they ask for feedback on what they have decided, and then they communicate this clearly so that it is implemented. But I think in your case, you were one of the few organizations who genuinely believed in co-creation. Because, on one end of the spectrum is the top decides and sells their ideas.
That doesn't work. That is not successful.
So help everybody in this group to understand, who are listening carefully to you, why do you think co-creation is more powerful than just consultation?
You create a lot of ownership at all the levels. When you involve people, then they feel aligned to it. They feel that they have contributed to creation of these values, and there is a lot of ownership. And the second most important thing is when we live these values, because most of the time you create some values, and then those are all displayed very beautifully, and then you do all the advertisement and brand building on that. But actually, you don't live those values. Your actions or your conduct is not in line with those values. And that's what, when people see that, they get disenchanted. So here it is absolutely, it's very clear that we have to live the values. We have deployed these values extremely, very, very strongly to everyone down the line, to the right up to the last level in the organization. So I think that's very important, that you have the values aligned, you involve people in while you are coming out with the values, and then of course you live those values day in and day out. And if you don't do that, then people understand very fast that this is just for showing to outside world. This is not for living inside.
Yeah, wonderful. That's very well said, that you have to live the values, which means you have to hold each other accountable. Tell me, have there been times when you felt that some of these values came under pressure, and were there some ethical dilemmas or values dilemmas? And if so, how did you and the team overcome those?
No, I think on the ethical side, Anil, I think these ethical practices or the values, I think in some of us, it is ingrained so strongly. And I will give that full credit to Mr. Bikram Lal. And, the amount of, that his thinking on all these things, it is absolutely, highly praiseworthy. And and whatever values we have created in this organization, I think a lot of credit goes to him. I will quote here one instance. In early part of my career, when I was in Purvanu in '84, there was an excise raid on our plant, and that was again a recession period, and we had around 184 tractors standing in our plant, and then those people were expecting something, and then we said, we are absolutely, we are not able to sell because the market is not good, and they are all here. Then they found out some technical error. They said, no, this thing should be there in some this column of the register, and where you have shown it somewhere at another place. So you have done something wrong. So we will seize these tractors. We said, this is technical error, we will correct it. But they said they were basically expecting that we will relent on that. And we said, we will not, this is a technical error. So then they seized all those tractors. They just put a lock on the tractor that we can't use it. And the case went on. And after 6 months, we won the case, and the Commissioner of Appeals, they imposed a fine of 1,000 rupees on us for that technical error. And then we went to Mr. Lal. They said, ki, okay, now this is the case, and there is a fine of 1,000 rupees. And Mr. Lal said, ki, but if you are right, then why should you pay fine? If you are paying fine, it means you have done something wrong. So why don't you appeal against it? We went in appeal to CGAT, SESTAT, and we won that case and got that 1,000 also removed. So that is the, I think that is what is ingrained in our blood. That is how we have to practice the ethical values, and I think this is how we live our values, and that's continuing. As far as I'm concerned, that was my, I would say, in the second year of my being in Eicher, I got that very strong input.
How wonderful. And you know, all of us have some very fond memories of this part of Eicher. But tell me, we were a small company when we worked together, you know, and it was a small company. Now it's become a large company. But yet that small company produced some of the topmost leaders of this country. I mean, other day I was saying that nearly 100 CEOs of companies are ex-Eicher. 100 heads of HR, including some global heads of HR, who have come from this company. Now, what do you think is the reason why this company produced disproportionately large number of leaders?
I think we, the Eicher and now VECV also, we believe in putting a lot of trust in people. I think when you trust people, the half the things get done. That is, I think that is most important. The second is in Eicher, we used to give a lot of responsibilities to people. We used to take risks with people. If suppose someone commits a mistake, I remember, you know, we were not afraid that, oh, I have done this, you know, what will happen to me? We were always encouraged, okay, you have done this mistake, learn from it. Don't repeat it. I remember, again, my early part of my career, I remember a very strong instance. You know, we were having discussions for this Royal Enfield. We had made the investment, strategic investment in Royal Enfield in early 90s. And that time, that company was, you know, getting sick, and then we had to get some rehabilitation package sanctioned from IFCI. And for that, I was from corporate finance. I was running that assignment, and then application was to be filed with the IFCI for getting that rehabilitation package. And I did. It was a very hard work, and did a lot of work, and we filed the application. After filing the application, I just noticed, oh, there was some serious mistake in one of the tables there, and you know, entire thing, it will have some bad impact on the entire outcome of this. And so then Badri was there as head of finance. I went to Badri. I was very afraid. I said, you know, what will happen? Badri will fire me. So I went to him. I told Badri, this is what has happened, and I have filed this. Now this is a mistake which has happened from me. You know, he just told me, okay, you just send it again, you correct it and file it again. So that's the encouragement, you know. Otherwise, someone could have said, no, now you defend that mistake. Now why don't you conceal it? You know, half the time the response comes that now you have done this, okay, you defend it. Whereas, what is the lesson to us? You have committed a mistake, own it, learn from it, and don't repeat in future. I think that's how the leaders are produced.
How wonderful. Now, Vinod, you talked about several crises in the past. You talked about how this company has faced tremendous amount of challenges in the past. And before we come to the current crisis, would you please recount the biggest challenge this company has faced before the current one, and how you overcame it at that time?
I think, as I mentioned, this is the seventh recession which I am experiencing. And you remember, Anil, in Eicher Motors, when we were in 90s, we were almost becoming sick in Eicher Motors. And at that time, it was a very tough period for Eicher Motors. And we didn't used to have cash. we were very tight on cash. We didn't have money to pay to suppliers, and we didn't have money to take care of ourselves properly. The costs were always under tremendous pressure, and then of course from corporate office we were always told that you have to defend yourself. So I think during that period, the way the entire things were handled during that crisis period, I think it's an example in itself. And if some of the decisions that we took, I think that has you can say defined our personality. Uh, like for example, all of us decided in one day that we will go to Pithampur in the buses with all the staff. We will not go by our own cars, and that's a small saving. But message we are giving to the masses. That's important. And that's exactly the thing that I am even doing currently. Like for example, we are now into this crisis. We are working on scenarios. Now we have in our management team, we have decided that how do we manage this scenario now? We have to make sure that we don't incur losses, because if we incur losses, it is going to become very demotivating for everyone. And all of us together, we decided, okay, all of us will take the cut in our salaries without anyone telling us. Board has not told us. We did that. We implemented it from 1st of April, and April salary itself was implemented. And we have taken so many steps that we have reduced our break even. Last year also we reduced the break even. This year again we have reduced the break even. Now we are fairly confident that we will be profitable even if the industry drops by 25%. Last year industry dropped by 40%. This year it will drop further by 25%, but still we will remain profitable. So that's the type of management or the belief, or that's the ownership of people or their alignment with the company goals. I think that's extremely important.
That's remarkable, Vinod. And Vinod, the one thing I'll never forget amongst many things we did together is that there was this absolute commitment to say, we will not allow the people at the bottom to feel the impact. And Eicher never ever laid off people, never retrenched people, never did that. Absolutely. And a lot of companies, especially in the auto industry, are thinking of reducing people if they have not done so already. What is your take of that?
I think, Anil, I think you are the basically, I would say, you are the visionary on that. You will remember in 1985 when the Plan S was implemented in Eicher Group. That was one of the crisis years during that period. That time, we created specialized plants, and a lot of workmen were surplus. You remember, we didn't even remove one workman. All of them were redeployed. All of the white collar staff were redeployed without losing anyone. I think that's the thing we are carrying forward till date. After that, the similar situation came in when Jaipur plant was closed. We moved people from Jaipur to Pithampur, workmen, and then there was a situation when Faridabad plant was closed. We moved people from Faridabad to Mandideep and from Faridabad to Pithampur, workmen.
I think I remember we were the first company in India to have workers resigning from one company and being appointed in another company without any loss in salary.
Absolutely. And we are the same philosophy.
Yes.
What a remarkable. Like we have taken that, now the current crisis, the option was that, okay, reduce 20% manpower.
Yes.
That's some of the companies are doing that. We said, nothing doing. We will take collective pain. We will not remove 20% people because we need these people. This situation, opportunities will come back. This is a crisis for 1 year. And now you will lose all your good people, and then after 1 year, you will again recruit good people. And it will be very difficult to train them. And specifically in your own value system, in your own culture.
Absolutely. So now tell me, Vinod, what is the advice you will give to so many? There are so many smaller companies, suppliers to the auto industry who are getting very badly impacted. There are also large companies whose names I don't want to take, who are in the same industry, who don't have enough cash. What would be your advice to this, especially auto industry has got impacted a lot currently. And a lot of people are very fearful. Companies don't have cash. The suppliers to auto companies are getting extremely worried. What would be your advice to both these entrepreneurs and to the leaders of these big companies in this industry?
I think the most important is the cash management. We have to bring a lot of focus on cash. We have to hold on to our nerves, and we have to see that where all cash is stuck, and we have to start special task forces to extract cash, because I'm sure there are a lot of areas where cash is stuck, but people don't know. It may be there in inventories, it may be there in receivables, it may be there in some other current assets, it may be there in some surplus assets. So I think we have to manage cash in an extremely good manner. And then second is we have to remain focused. We have to decide the projects and then work on them relentlessly, and we have to take the targets and then with focus achieve those. I think there is no other way out. You have to focus cash, extract cash, and then of course, as far as possible, take the minimum debt. We are fortunate in our company that we don't have any debt. But of course, if the companies are having debt, they are at more risk. If you are having more debt, I think it's very difficult to service the debt at this point of time, because you are not earning anything in operations, and then on top of it you have to pay interest. Like even if you get the moratorium from the banks or institutions, on moratorium also you have to pay the interest.
That's
and
right.
then this to manage the institution and banks is not, it's not an easy job.
It's not an easy
Now,
job. Absolutely.
when you have the debt sitting on your head, it's really very very tough. It's very bad. So
Yes.
don't unnecessarily venture into debt. So in fact, I don't believe in this theory of government that they should give lots of debt to MSMEs, uh, and then in fact I have also read that somewhere it is being said that pay the debt and pay your salaries out of the debt. That will be cardinal mistake. If any MSME borrows money and pays salaries out of it, that will be a very big cardinal mistake. So we should
Yeah.
focus on cash. And
Vinod, uh, and thank you very much for enlightening us on this particular aspect. But let me ask you another question. In this difficult period, how are your unions and your shop floor workers responding in this level of crisis to this?
they are all with us. They are all with us. In fact, they are even discussing with us. Okay, you tell us what more we should do to help the company. They are all
Wow.
with us. Absolutely, they are 100% with us, and that is the result of our regular communication and fairness approach. If you are fair with the workman, I think they are extremely good at heart. The problem starts when you compromise on fairness. When you are not fair with the workman, I think that's the start of the trouble. You have to be fair. You have to communicate regularly. After that, you win their hearts. They are with you, and absolutely, they are absolutely standing behind us.
Yeah. There are a lot of questions already coming up, and here is the first question that is coming up. Hi, sir. It's wonderful to hear your talk of values and how important they are in a company. How do you ensure that the values are disseminated in the right way amongst all the staff and employees so that they feel the same way?
I think you have to do a lot of deployment exercises. Like, for example, we have done large scale deployments by following the LSIP process, where we have taken maybe around 2,500 people at one go. And through this type of a webinar, we have done a lot of such deployment exercises. And then, of course, at a physical face-to-face level also, large scale interactive process is very useful to deploy that. And then of course you should demonstrate the values. Most important is demonstration. If you demonstrate from the top, people get the message very strongly. And then if anyone is not following the values, you should also warn him first. And if he repeats it again and again, then of course you have to take strong action, because you cannot accept any compromise with the values. If you show the compromise with the values, then of course people will get the message, okay, oh, this is tolerable. So I think first is the training, And the second is demonstrate yourself. And third is, of course, enforce it. If anyone is not following it, enforce it very strongly.
Vinod, I have very fond memories of, you talked about the time in Eicher Motors crisis, and I remember that when Sandy, as we call him fondly, was heading Eicher Motors at that time, and all of us were working together, and that time Sandy had posed this question, that how do we create this sense of one heart and one mind in the entire workforce? And I remember at that time I reached out to Dr. Kathy Dan Miller,
Yes,
the
absolutely.
woman who invented the large-scale interactive process.
Yes.
And I have such fond memory that thanks to Eicher Motors, that entire technology of large-scale interactive process came to India, after which it has benefited hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And I have still some fond memories of Kathy telling us, see, when you bring all the people together into the same conference room, on each round table, you should make people sit where the workers and the senior managers are sitting together on the same table. People from all different functions are sitting together. And then make your stakeholders come and talk to them straight from the heart. Don't use any PowerPoints or anything like that. And tell them as to how have they experienced your company. And after that, people are, that whole process of, I have such fond memories of how Eicher Motors.
I think, Anil, you are instrumental in making that happen. And of course, Mr. Sandlier did that for the first time in India. It was a great, I would say, great initiative. And after that, it became very popular in the entire country.
Yes. And that whole formula to say D for shared dissatisfaction.
Yes.
And V for shared values and vision. And F for the first steps.
Yes.
If the product of shared dissatisfaction, shared values and vision, and the first steps, if these three, the product of these three is greater than R, resistance to change, then transformation will occur.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and remarkable memories of that. Now tell me.
No, we are still doing that. In fact, we had recently been doing a lot of LSIPs.
Okay, how very nice. Now, Ashok Ramchandran, who's the Group President of Human Resources for Aditya Birla Group, he's asking a question. What are the phases when you have had personal doubts regarding approaches and even on self-motivation? And what are your own thoughts and advice for young people? That moments in your life when you had personal doubts and also some question marks. How did you overcome that? And what would be your advice for young people?
No, I think sometimes you may overcome with some fear or something, but then I think fundamentally again you have to go back to your main strengths, and you have to always see that what is your main purpose? Are you meaning at that or not? And if you are working on that purpose with a very clear focus, I think all doubts go away. If you are focused, if you are following the all this whatever is to be done without getting afraid, you do your job, and then of course I think the results will follow. Don't worry about the results. I think honesty in doing the job with full dedication, I think that's most important.
Wonderful. Vinod, Adi Sharma, one of the participants in the webinar, is asking you a question. How to sustain an idea and implement it without falling prey to any uncomfortable circumstances? That means how to start something new, but sustain it and implement it despite all the challenges that you face. Can you please give some guidance in managing change in organizations?
No, definitely. I think there are always a lot of challenges sometimes, you face resistance. But I think the most important is how you communicate. If you are able to communicate the objective of doing anything, and if you are able to create the ownership, I think then the things can move very, very smoothly. So most important is communicate very clearly that what you are doing, why you are doing, and what does it mean for the organization, what does it mean for all individuals. Once you do that, I don't think there is any, everyone gets aligned to it.
Wonderful. Now, another colleague called Kaustubh is asking this question. How do you plan in post-recession time regarding expansion of production as well as workforce? that, once things begin to look up again, how do you plan for it ahead of time regarding expansion of production as well as workforce?
I think the first and most important thing is that we should not compromise on the long-term initiatives. So we should not lose sight of our big picture. So if you always keep that big picture in mind, uh, I think once this difficult period is over, I think then we will start moving very fast. If you are already, sometimes, during this period, you can take some long-term steps. When the things are not so good, you can always take some hard steps, which are very good for the long run. So you should continue doing that. And as you come out of this situation, then of course it's not difficult to add more resources or expand. The difficulty is to cut down, to remain focused during this difficult period. I think those are the things. If you are able to sustain this difficult period, I think the subsequent period is not going to be that difficult. The most important is we have to sustain ourselves during this period.
There are several Eicher people also in this webinar who are listening to our conversation, some ex-Eicher people as well. One question, Vinod, I want to ask you, that Eicher always had very good talent. And people in industry used to say that it always had potential, but the performance in terms of financial results was not that great in between. I'm talking about some of the time that we have gone through. But now, for the last many years, even in terms of financial outperformance, it has been cited as one of the finest companies in the country. So it always had respect for its values. It always had respect for its talent and for its people practices, for instance, and its ethics. But of late, it has also been recognized as a high performance organization. How did this transition happen that you became a sustainable high performance organization, which also in terms of its financial indicators became one of the best companies in the country?
I think everything has its right time. So I would not blame anything on the past, that earlier we were not doing that or we were not doing this. That is why we were not able to perform better. And now we are doing this, doing that, and that's why we are better. So I don't think that's the right assessment. I think everything has the right time. Like, for example, motorcycle business. We had 20 years of perseverance. It is nothing but perseverance and consistently working on improving the quality. And then, of course, simultaneously, I think Siddharth focused a lot on brand building, on opening company owned stores where we could, pursue our brand building guidelines. I think that 20 years of perseverance, that paid off. So I would not say that we were not doing well, and then now we have started suddenly doing well. And then I will not like to, because I think the management team during that period was very strong, and definitely there were a lot of energy was also going on managing some of the the companies which we had acquired. Like, for example, the Royal Enfield itself, when we acquired it, it was not an easy company. There were so many other businesses which it was running, and all those I think financial restructuring that was done. No, that had that not been done, then you won't have seen the today's day. No, so the foundation was laid at that time when the entire restructuring was done. Similarly, there are so many other examples. For example, had we not spotted this truck business at that time when we were having difficult period, we won't have seen this current light. And then, of course, we did some of the things which we did, that we brought more focus on the dedicated business. We said, okay, now we will focus on two-wheelers, we will focus on trucks, and let's get out of some of the businesses which of course it is better that someone else run. So I think we have moved with time. I would say that time was good. This time is also good, and it has taken time for us to show this performance.
Wonderful, Vinod. Yogesh Andle, who is the co-founder of Grow Talent Company and also co-founder of our schools, he's also the founder of Nuclear Software. So he's an entrepreneur. So Yogesh is asking a very important question, which I asked, but he's asking in a different way. You have demonstrated a wonderful joint partnership with a very large multinational. How do you manage to balance with different cultures, value systems, and purpose? How different are these between Eicher and Volvo?
I see not much difference. In fact, their values and our values are absolutely similar. They are much more mature in the processes. Their processes are very strong. They are time-tested processes. So it's almost 100 years old company, and its processes are so strong that you just have to keep your eyes closed and follow those processes. Whereas in VCV or in Eicher, our processes are also not that mature, and then we also give a lot of empowerment to our people that they can come out with new ideas. They can be more innovative. So sometimes we are more innovative. We sometimes a new person comes, he'll start, implementing new ideas. Whereas in Volvo systems, you can't do that. So there the processes are set. You have to follow the processes, and that has its own benefits. And we are also learning from that. Some of the processes, no, we are not compromising. We are not allowing anyone to touch those processes. This is the learning which we are getting from them. But I would say largely our values are similar.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, Vinod, let me ask you another question that which is related to some of the comments being made in the chat. You see, at some point in your life, Vinod, you would have faced some feeling of failure. Now, all of us have gone through some moments when personally we felt under a lot of pressure. Now, you as a leader, is there any moment when which you had a learning from a failure which you would like to offer to the young people as to how to handle failure in your life?
I think always there are times when you feel down. Not that case you are always feeling up. But I think the most important thing, how to manage that, is that end of the day, you have to think that are you doing the right things? I think that is. But I always I never try to take stress. If anything comes like that, I keep smiling. Then I have a very strong action plan. And if there are failures, I take learnings from that. I don't allow that to impact me beyond a point. It may have momentary impact, but after that I gather myself and get on to the work. I think the best is to get on to the job.
How remarkable. Now, Vinod, let me ask you another question about this your leadership journey. You were a brilliant finance person, and then you got transformed into a brilliant CEO. When did this change happen as a finance person from a CFO to CEO, and what contributed to this?
I think there have been, during my career, I think the first thing was then when Mr. Sanlia moved me to Alwar in 2004. He tested with me in a smaller operation as director in charge of engines. And there I contributed a lot in setting up a new business area of gensets. And then, of course, I came back very fast to corporate office. And then, of course, then the Siddhartha and Mr. Vikram Lal, I think both of them, they must have seen something in me, and then they thought that I should be given the largest responsibility. I think that's it. And then it fell into place.
How wonderful. Now, tell me another thing, Vinod. Eicher has done many other unusual things. For example, there's a cartography group it had which made all the maps for the country. Many people don't know that Eicher also published some wonderful books to contribute to the country. Similarly, Volvo also does a lot of experiments in contributing to society. Can you talk a little bit about how your organization contributes to the larger good of the country and the community that it operates?
I think we are very proud of that, first of all, because we do it very seriously. We make sure that each penny which we are putting into it that is spent for that purpose. It doesn't, there is no leakage. So we ensure that in our, whatever CSR funds we allocate, there is no leakage. For example, I think you know it, for long we have been supporting this Shroff Eye Charity Hospital. I think there, if you know, if we want, we can start earning a lot of money. But you know what is the mandate is that continue to do more and more free surgeries, continue to spread more and more in rural areas, and then of course you should only you do the paid surgeries to sustain yourself. Similarly, on the education side, similarly on the lot of work we are doing for drivers, lot of work we are doing for skill building. Like we are supporting a lot of automobile labs in various colleges where a lot of training is given to the students there uh, who can get the practical exposure on how to repair a truck. Like we set up the auto lab and they get to work on the aggregates, like they work on engine or transmission or electrical system, and then they know, as part of their curriculum they are able to learn the actual practical aspects of it. And once they clear that course, they can be directly employed by dealers or by workshops or by, so their employability increases. So we are contributing a lot in skill building like that. And then of course a lot of work on the community development around our plants. So I think we are working on a lot of CSR initiatives, and all of them are taken very, very seriously.
Gautam Kumar, who's asking a question that what are the new technologies and digital transformations that automobile and industry is currently working on the digital side?
I think it's going, there is a lot of work which is happening on digitalization, and we are very, very advanced in that. Like for example, we have now implemented a digital app where we have the complete visibility of a truck. When the truck enters a workshop for repairs, uh, at the gate itself, we get to know in our uptime center in Pitampur that how many trucks have entered in a day, and in the workshop there are 7-8 stages of repairs, and at each stage how much time a truck was stuck and how much time it has taken for repair, what was the response time, and there are tools, digital tools, by which our uptime center, which is first of its kind in India, that can take control of the vehicle on real-time basis from a workshop, or if it is broken on the road, from the roadside. So real-time guidance can be provided by the uptime center to the technician in workshop or to the technician on the roadside. So I think this is going to be extremely, it will bring in revolution, how the entire after sales is managed. And then similarly, telematics, it is becoming more and more advanced. We can show value to the customer that between two drivers, how much is the difference between fuel efficiency which is delivered by one driver and fuel efficiency that is delivered by this other driver. I can tell you, you will be surprised to know that there can be a difference of 25 to 30% in fuel efficiency if a truck is driven correctly or if a truck is not driven correctly.
Well, is that right?
And fuel is, it accounts for 50% of the total cost of ownership of a truck. The fuel is so important that 50% of the total cost of ownership, including the acquisition cost and repairs and driver and everything, 50% is fuel. Just imagine if you are saving 25%, then it means you are saving 25% of 50%. It means you are earning 12.5% profit more every year if you are, as compared to a not a good driver and good. Now this is possible with telematics. With telematics, we can have the information for each route, each driver, each truck, and there is online coaching given to the driver through again this digitalization, that driver gets to know that whether he's driving correctly or he's not driving correctly. For example, if he's not driving correctly, he will get thumbs down in the dashboard. He will see that there is something showing that you are not doing correctly, or you are maybe pressing the clutch more, or you are accelerating more, or you are doing something not right, you are braking more. Then he has to come back to the sweet spot. I think these are some of the initiatives or some of the digitalization things. And then, of course, our now we have complete visibility. Our system softwares are so strong now. Like whatever our dealer does, the complete knowledge is there with us on real-time basis. So it's everything is integrated, right from the customer till our design of the truck.
How very nice. Now, Vinod, one question Adi Sharma is asking that given what's happening in the whole world and the size of this COVID crisis, what is the new world that is emerging now, and what would be the attributes of successful managers of the future who will thrive in this new environment?
I think this has given us a lot of opportunity to change ourselves. So I think last 2 months it has been a very big, learning and change experience for me. Like for example, earlier we never used to have this sort of reviews on video conferencing or virtually like this. I think we have really learned the strength of this tool, and this is going to increase the productivity like anything. I think our need to travel will come down significantly. Earlier, it was not happening because it was not driven from the top. The top people were never aware that this is so powerful. So now I think this will change a lot the way we are managing the business, and uh, definitely businesses are going to become much more productive. And then second thing, I think all of us have to learn to live with this COVID. How do we take care of ourselves? How do we take care of our other colleagues? How do we take care of our workplaces? How do we take care of our families? I think we have to be very, very conscious of hygiene. We have to be very conscious of what sort of things we are doing and what sort of things we don't do. I think I think these are things which are going to become part of our life. So, so I think we will be more productive after we go back to the offices, or we will have to do a lot of work from home even afterwards. Maybe your need to have so many offices will come down.
Wonderful. Now, Vinod, the question is also being asked that for the future manager to thrive, are there any particular aspects of that person's characteristics on the future manager that you would like to emphasize?
I think uh, I think what I would say is that uh, we should have ambition, but that ambition should not lead to any stress. When the ambition leads to stress, that spoils the entire story. Ambition should lead to motivation, and motivation should lead to the actions. So we should feel motivated. That will give us a lot of energy to act in the right manner. I think if we follow this principle, I think we will be very successful.
How wonderful, Vinod. There is another question that is somewhat interlinked. When you have to create and maintain the high spirits of everybody in a crisis, it requires a special kind of leadership to create that kind of glue with people in a crisis. What are some of the things you and your leadership team are currently doing to build the morale of people and drive out their fear?
I think the most important is remaining in touch. When you communicate regularly with people, the half the battle is done. We do a lot of town halls. We keep them engaged. We, in fact, we are aware of each and every person in our organization, that how is he doing, how is his family, is he all right, is he facing any problem. I think if you take care of your people and if you are concerned about your people, I think that's the message that we have to give. We should know, we should engage, and if we show this type of engagement, I think people they become emotionally attached to the organization, and that's very important.
What a wonderful, almost an hour we have spent together. And I like to take out the following insights from my conversation with you today. One, always remember your roots, your humble roots. You came from a village, you grew up in a village, and you've never forgotten that. So always remember the roots from where you come and always be grounded. That's the first thing you said. The second thing you said is that in an organization, it's very important to respect some of the fundamentals and basics. Today, you reminded us, treat people with respect, speak the truth, be fair, never try to say something which is not right, be completely transparent. When pressure will come from the world outside, when the world, especially some of the statutory authorities would, because of the kind of thing they are used to, many times they may put pressure on you. And your story about the excise case of tractors, which taught you your first lesson on ethical leadership, that even the 1,000 rupees fine was not to be given because you had not done something wrong. What a remarkable way of building values.
That's ingrained in my mind very, very strongly.
And what a remarkable thing. And then you said, you know, the way you have managed the joint venture, I think it's quite a lesson to every joint venture. If you work for the success of your partner, and if you as the CEO say, I represent both the shareholders, you will, when both the partners work for each other's success, and when they truly build alignment even before a normal board meeting, you said that the consensus is built even before it is discussed in the board. What a nice insight and example for everybody who keeps having these problems in boards and keep having shareholders going in different directions. You also said, Vinod, that in difficult times, remember, the difficult time will not stay for long. You told us, be with your people, be fair to your people, and if you have to start with sacrifice, it starts with the senior leadership team. Like many of you voluntarily, the board didn't ask you, none of the people amongst the shareholders asked you, but some of you senior leaders, just to set the right example, you took a voluntary cut in salary. What a remarkable thing. That normally it happens that the board will suggest something and then the top management does, but what you did. And lastly, what you said in the very end, the future manager, the profile of the future manager, you said in very simple terms that, you know, have ambition, but let your ambition not become the cause of your stress. And so I think be passionate, but don't allow yourself to be stressed. I want to thank you, Vinod, for your humility, for your simplicity, for your focus, and for being such an authentic and wonderful leader. And thank you very much. And thank you for being with us this evening.
It's my pleasure, Anil, to talk to you. And I always learn. I keep on learning. And today also I would have learned something.
No, thank you, Vinod. Thank you very much. And goodbye, everybody, till we meet next Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.